Welcome to the Kyber Show, episode 2. Thank you all very much for the very warm welcome to episode 1 and all of the comments and feedback. It's really appreciated. We've incorporated some of the changes already into this episode, and we have plans to incorporate some more in future episodes, but please keep letting me and Skeltrix, me being Kin, me and Skeltrix know what you're interested in and what other things you'd like to see, and we'd love to hear your feedback. For this episode, we're going to be covering week 4, which is the final week of GAC number 9. This ended on the 14th of July. Similar to our first episode, which was week 3, we have more Jedi Knight Luke counters to Supreme Leader Kylo. We also have some more Vader counters that we're seeing as people are more and more familiar with using those against Rey. We are going to feature one of the Jedi Knight Luke counters in this episode. And there was quite a bit more experimentation since many of the creators during week 4 either reached Kyber or had already reached Kyber. So they're willing to try out some things that they might not normally try. It was a very fun week to watch and observe. Alright, here we have our first fight. Padme versus General Anakin Skywalker and the 501st. The Padme team is relatively normal here, using R2 instead of a C-3PO or a Barriss or something like that. The 5th is not super important, but against the General Skywalker teams, R2 is usually one of the better ones to use. This is a complicated fight primarily for when you want to attack General Skywalker. The issue with courage and using courage against the 501st team is that whenever you hit General Skywalker, it doesn't matter whether he has 50% protection or 5% protection, it will use all available stacks of courage on the character you use to hit him. So the difficulty in this fight is really about planning when to hit him and saving up stacks of courage for generally the second time he drops out of cover, which is when you can kill him once you've killed all of his allies. So this is a difficult part of the fight. It's all about timing the abilities like Smokescreen from R2 and the Negotiator from General Kenobi, and making sure you get the stacks of courage ready for when you can finally kill him. Alright, let's start the fight here. You can see they've used R2, and interestingly, ARC Trooper goes first, and then General Skywalker. This is a strange turn order. Normally Rex goes first. R2 didn't get crit, which is very lucky, because getting crit by General Skywalker reduces your cooldowns by 1. So now it's a question of whether you use Burning or Smokescreen. Not a really big difference one way or another. If he does use Smokescreen here, it's likely it'll get removed by Echo when he goes as well. So General Kenobi is tanking everything. Rex used his turn meter gain. There goes Echo, stunned R2, and as you can see, cooldowns are reduced, so Padme can't use her special yet. Now it's just a matter of sort of building up courage and tanking the hits from the team in the meantime. It looks like Ahsoka didn't get crit either, so she was able to get some courage up from everybody. Courage up for everybody, rather. Okay, now Padme comes around. Echo's already used his AoE, so she can safely build protection up stacks. And let's see how this is going here. Alright, oh, that was very close. Anakin is almost down. Now, okay, there he goes. He finally drops. Now it's just a matter of killing 5s first, and then the rest of the 501st clones. Padme has a nice lot of stacks of courage. R2 does also, and he's not using them all because it doesn't take so many. It only uses the correct amount. Let's pause a bit here. It only uses the correct amount when R2 uses his, or when any of the characters use their ability. It only uses the correct amount of courage on all non-Anakin Skywalker characters. Alright, here R2, or General Kenobi has an option whether to do a mass assist or to use the Negotiator and give retribution to all of the characters without a debuff. The main thing here, as I mentioned earlier, this being about timing, if you look at the turn meter for the rest of the characters and the enemy team. Certainly he could kill Rex with his lead the charge, but if you look at the turn meter, Padme is about to go and she has 19 stacks, so it's sort of a waste to use the lead the charge ability now. It's better to use the negotiator and give retribution. So let's continue and see what he does. He only has 2 stacks of courage, you can see, so it's no good really to attack. He wants to use one of his, so he uses the negotiator. Padme now goes with a basic, kills Rex. ARC Trooper is almost dead, and now you can see obviously R2. Let's pause again here. This is a very big choice and probably the defining moment of the fight. Either R2 will use a basic against ARC Trooper and kill him for sure, and then General Skywalker will stand up because all of his allies are dead, or R2 will use Smokescreen, and if you look at the protection bar of General Skywalker, he will almost definitely stand up because his protection will reach 100%. At the beginning of every character's turn, enemy or ally, he gains 10% protection, and when his protection reaches 100%, then he'll go. So if R2 doesn't kill ARC Trooper, you will have to drop into cover Anakin once more. However, if R2 uses Smokescreen here, the AoE from Anakin, which will do a tremendous amount of damage, will be evaded by everybody, and Anakin would probably only kill General Kenobi. So this is a very important moment here. And then, as you can see by the turn order, if Anakin killed General Kenobi, Jedi Knight Anakin would go immediately and Padme would follow him, and Padme has enough courage to drop General Skywalker into cover again. This is a complicated fight, and this moment here is, I think, the best choice to use Smokescreen because you can avoid the AoE from General Skywalker. But let's see what happens here. What does Bitcoin do? He goes a safe choice, and look at that. You can see General Skywalker kills everybody. Not everybody. Anakin does a huge amount of damage. Now Padme can heal up, or she can kick Skywalker in the face, and the assist from Ahsoka kills him. Very close fight. Excellent win by Bitcoin, and yeah, let's go on and see the next one. Alright, let's get into fight number 2. This is a Jedi Knight Revan team versus General Grievous with Droideka. This is a common fight. It's not exactly straightforward. There's a few points where you have to make very important decisions to make sure you're going to win. Otherwise, it rapidly goes out of control. Both of these teams are very powerful. Bastilla Lead is another option that some people use. She gains quite a bit of bonus protection and tenacity at the beginning of the fight, and that helps to sort of stall out while you kill the General Grievous team. But Jedi Knight Revan does have the advantage of regeneration of protection and just overall more damage with all of the assists. The modding of Jolee is very important, his tenacity overall, to make sure he survives to resurrect people. And the offense of Grandmaster Yoda plays a big role. On the defensive side, the main importance here versus Jedi Knight Revan is the crit avoidance and protection of B2. Sometimes Droideka, if it's fast, will surprise the opponent, but it's not often you see a fast Droideka, especially in a General Grievous team. Let's see how it goes. Alright, here the fight starts. It's a relatively standard opening, switching TM to General or Grandmaster Yoda, doing an AoE to trigger B2 to do his AoE, but he has Foresight up to avoid that. He got a target lock on Jolee, that's unfortunate, gives more TM to the opponent GG team, but now just going after B2. Have to be able to get him down to remove the buffs. Here, let's pause for a moment. There is really never a time when you don't want to mark B2 and immediately take him down. There, at this point, where everybody is relatively healthy, even if Droideka kills Jolee, Revan's sacrifice will, not sacrifice, excuse me, savior, will come into play and will save Jolee. So really, at this point, you only mark B2 and kill him right away. Direct focus is the way to go. Here again, you have another chance to use Bastilla to go after B2, but as you see, you trigger B2's turn meter, triggered everybody else. There's two characters target locked now. Magnagard has his taunt up, Revan isn't taking his turn anytime soon, and things are sort of going downhill. Savior can save somebody, but until Revan takes his turn and gets mark up, there goes Savior, who's triggered on Bastilla. And now killing Magna, as you can see, it just quickly is going downhill. This is just a good example of a fight that is not simple, but if you miss out on that one key move, or the second time where you had a chance to slightly recover, it becomes very messy very quickly. Tough fight. Let's go on to the next one. Fight number 3 from Endallbeall. This is a fascinating fight. I love that I'm seeing this now in a few places in Grand Arena. This is an Aura Singh-led Bounty Hunters team with a 3-star Greef and Mando. And Aura Singh is only G10. Dengar, Mando, and Greef are only G11. And it's up against a full G12 squad. Of course, Bosk here is G13. So the importance of the Aura lead here is that when she's the leader, to trigger the contract, which is what you need for Mandalorian to use Disintegrate, it's using any ability while you are buffed 10 times. So it's triggered quite quickly, which allows the Mandalorian, if your turn order is set up correctly, which is probably the most important part of this whole team, allows the Mandalorian to disintegrate somebody immediately at the beginning of the fight, and then from there it's just a cleanup effort. It's a great team, and we're going to see more and more of it in future Grand Arenas and in territory wars once people have a chance to farm up their Greef and Mandos more. Let's see how it goes. Alright, so the fight starts now, and Bosk is the fastest. And here you see the enemy Dooku try and stealth everybody. But because Dengar is in the team, and all of the bounty hunters that aren't taunts start with stealth, when Dengar is stealth, his unique prevents any stealth on the enemy team. So even with Dooku on the team going first, it gives you a big advantage. Now Bosk will use his AoE, and we'll have 5 charges here. You can see already the contract's at 70% there in the bottom right corner. And now the second group attack from Greef should complete the contract. Now of course Dooku and Nute have gone, and Nute applied his extortion. This is one of the few times when you don't use extortion, or you don't cleanse extortion. And here we have Mando with Disintegrate, being able to target anybody he wants while under stealth. And goodbye Nest before she even takes a turn. There's an argument to be made for Jango, but the days would really slow down this team. There's a lot of turn meter regeneration from the Mandalorian if he has his unique Zated. So it's better to kill Nest to prevent the days. Now you can see, Aura has a stun on basic. Greef is going again, going to cleanse everybody. And when you have your contract triggered, you get additional bonuses. You get more TM. Bosk goes again. This is one of the few teams where I would be okay with not using Profit to pay off the extortion. Because Bosk still keeps his buff. Extortion, when you have extortion active at the end of your turn, you cleanse buffs. But with Bosk's unique, he keeps his taunt buff active. In almost all other situations, I would say it's better to pay to Profit and get rid of extortion. But here it's really just a basic cleanup exercise. Anytime the Mando goes, he's going to give 25 or I believe 15% TM to the rest of the bounty hunters on the team. Very helpful. You can see the low gear levels of Aura primarily. Is dropping her a bit low in health, but Aura's lead gives 25% protection when any opponent dies. So this should be a 60-point win when you combine Aura's lead and Grief's special. Anytime the Mando goes, he's giving bonus TM. There you saw Dengar go. He doesn't stun the opponent unless they have more than 50% turn meter, but it still will give, I think, 75% chance for a slowed speed down. And Aura's basic with the stun is amazing. It's really something to think of when you're modding her to give her tenacity, or excuse me, potency. There's another disintegrate. That's very satisfying. Very, very easy cleanup team here. Very low investment from a gear level in Grand Arena, and to get 60 points out of this is awesome. It's a great fight. Very nice to see this from Endallbeall. Awesome job. Let's see the next one. Fight number 4. This is the fight of the week. This is a fight we're seeing more and more for those people who are lucky enough to have Jedi Knight Luke. This is a Jedi Knight Revan with Jedi Knight Luke versus Supreme Leader Kylo. This is really the most reliable counter right now, besides another GL, against the majority of Supreme Leader Kylo teams. It does require some specific modding on your Revan to make sure he goes before the enemy Hux goes, either via making sure you have enough speed or your health is low enough so that when the enemy Kylo attacks, Savior will be triggered and you'll get a bonus turn. There's 2 primary versions here, one with Bastila and one with Shaq. Bastila is often used because she gives Revan an additional 5 speed from Revan's leadership, and the skill block is nice also. But Shaq is a great alternative. She's generally a bit more faster than Bastila is, and if you don't need the speed for Revan, the protection regeneration and assists and dispels are all quite helpful. Let's see how it goes. Alright, as we go into the fight, the opening is pretty much the same in all situations. Here with Trooper, Revan triggers his Savior and gets a bonus turn. Now he swaps TM, and let's pause here for a moment. He swapped TM to Jedi Knight Luke, and Luke used his AoE stun. This is one of the 2 ways the fight normally goes. The other way is immediately you mark Hux and go after him. They both have their pros and cons. Normally it depends on how fast your old Ben is, where he will go in the turn order, because he provides a similar function to what Luke is doing right here. And what old Ben's potency level is compared to the enemy Hux and or Sith Trooper, because those are the 2 main guys you want to put ability block on. Let's see how it goes from here. So always give Master's Training to Jedi Knight Luke first, and then it's just a matter of calling Jedi Knight Luke for a ton of assists. Here now you can see that Kiaowe is going to mark Trooper first. You always, if you go for the version that Kiaowe did, you always want to mark Trooper first if Hux doesn't have skill block or ability block. Because you either are trying to prevent the AoE from Trooper or the TM swap from Hux. So depending on which method you take, you'll need to choose one of those 2 targets, because you want to avoid Kylo going into his ultimate if possible. You can still win if he goes into his ultimate, but it's much easier if he doesn't. Here old Ben dies and he has the Zeta, so he gives TM and buffs to everybody. Jedi Knight Luke just murdered a fool there, and now it's a TM swap. Back to Luke. He gives himself some bonus damage using the assist. There's some evades there. Now it's Revan's mark, and the fight is almost over. This is awesome in Grand Arena and Territory Wars, because usually old Ben will die, but you get more than 55 banners in most cases otherwise. This is a great fight. Kiaowe executed it very well, and it's awesome to see Supreme Little Kylo die so quickly. Thanks for watching another episode of The Kyber Show. For our next episode, number 3, we'll probably have a few more fights. Because it's 3v3, the fights are relatively faster and less complicated than the 5v5 ones. Certainly less interesting to some people, but more interesting to others. And certainly very interesting to analyze as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next week. Cheers!